This process I'm about to show you was one of the main reasons why we managed to scale our brand to 8 figures. And after working with over 100 other brands, I can tell you that only a fraction of sellers do this well. I'm not going to tell you how to grow your business. You know your brand better than anyone. But instead, I will help you implement a system that will give you the best chance to hit your business goals in 2025. So let's dive in. The framework we are going to build our system around is actually quite simple. First of all, we want to define where we want to go, then what to do to get there, and lastly, figure out what's holding us back. The issue here is that most sellers, they only define their destination. They say, I want to double my business this year, and that's it. That's where they are finished their planning and their strategy. Some sellers go a step further and they even map out the actions they need to take in order to reach their destination. But truly only a few actually forecast the roadblocks ahead and solve them before they even encounter them. And that's what we are going to do today. We are going to build a planning system that takes into account this full framework, all of these 3 steps. The first step is defining the destination. I call this the ultimate goal. The idea here is that we want to clearly define the goal, what we want to get out of the business, right? Do we want to sell the business for a certain amount? Do you want to learn new skills? Or maybe you want to automate the business and work as little as possible. The idea here is to be as specific as possible, like why we even started the business in the first place. The idea here is that we want to think at least in 2 to 3 year horizon, right? Not just this year. Because if we think only in the next 12 months, it's quite restricting, right? So we want to think, let's say 2 or 3 year horizon, and then simply map it out in a spreadsheet to understand the numbers. So in this example, we are going to work with a simple goal, pretty straightforward, that we want to sell the business for a certain amount. Of course, if we would account for other goals, like we want to learn some skills or maybe limit the number of hours we work, it would look differently, but you will get the idea from this exercise. So let's say that I want to sell my business for 2 million in the next 2 years. So the calculation, again, would look like this, because we want to really map out the numbers. We want to understand what we need to achieve first, right? As we said, defining the destination. So if the desired sale value is 2 million, we will assume some multiple, right? We will look at the market of similar businesses. What would the multiple would be? What is the required profit? And then, of course, our net margins, and we will get a rough estimate of the revenue we need to reach. Then we take a look at our current situation and calculate the gap, right? So in this case, we will have to around 3x our business in order to get closer to our goal. What I would also do is to really take a closer look at the numbers, right? So where we are right now, month after month, let's say this is the last year in sales, I had 750 in revenue. This is my regular month. I also account for seasonality. And then we take a look 1 year ahead. Where do I have to be 1 year from now? Remember, I have 2 years to reach my goals. So where do I need to go 1 year from now? Right? I need to get to around 1.3 million. I need to grow around 75% and then do the same thing again. 75% to reach 2.3 million in revenue, which means that I need to add 35K of monthly revenue or 560 of yearly revenue. And then the next year I need to add this. Now, when I do this, I gain the clarity on the destination. As I said, most sellers do this, right? We want to be as specific as possible because this will be the foundation. We will build our planning system around this. Because remember, all we try to do with the planning system is to get as quickly as possible and as easy as possible to our destination. So of course, defining the destination is essential. Now, the next step will be prioritizing. Right? Because as we mentioned before, we know that there are so many things we could potentially do, right? The issue most sellers have is they don't know how to choose. It's not really that we don't know what to do. The opposite is true, right? There are so many things we hear, we should try influencer marketing, TikTok shop, we should try this and that. So we are overwhelmed with options where even making the choice becomes the problem, right? So that's why after defining the destination, we have to prioritize to really understand what are the projects we're going to pursue and what are the projects we will leave on the table. Because when making the choice becomes the problem, We either get paralyzed, right? We don't know how to choose, or we jump from one thing to another, right? One thing is not working, so let me try the next. But the result is the same. We get stuck. So the way I see prioritization, it's basically a strategy, right? Because our goal is to become laser focused in a world of endless opportunities. So what we try to do is to intentionally cut most of our options and find the path of least resistance to reach our destination. Because the beauty of this is that we do not need to do everything. We do not need to do all of these things we have on our list in order to reach our ultimate goal. So we are trying to figure out what is the easiest way to get there. And that's what we are going to do right now. The first step will be opportunity analysis. This is where we are mapping out our actions, right? Mapping out what we can possibly do, because all of us, we have these could-do lists, whether it's on paper or in the back of our mind. We have all of these ideas, what we could potentially do with this business to grow this, right? Forget about the constraints, forget about what you can and cannot do. Just simply start writing down all of your ideas, how you could potentially grow this business. Now, once we map out all of our possible projects, let's say expanding to new marketplaces, new sales channels, optimizing our listings, expanding to social media, start creating content, we will list all of these right here again in our opportunity analysis spreadsheet, and then try to estimate the growth potential. Of course, this is out of scope of this video to get into detail how to estimate the growth potential. But in many cases, we are working with the information we have available, right? We are just guessing, but it is the best we can do. So for example, where I would look at expanding to the UK marketplace, let's say I'm just selling in the US, I would look at the size of the market, to just get a rough idea, getting the same market share I'm getting in the US, what the growth potential this year could be if I expand all of my products into UK. The same goes for launching new product variations, new product lines, potentially expanding to a new sales channel. Then what we want to do is to look at all of the factors that can affect the potential of each project. So the first one would be whether the project is amplified by scale. And what I mean by that is if our business is bigger, does the potential of this project grow as well? So for example, if I expand to UK, all of my products, it is amplified by the scale of my brand, because the more products I have, the more likely it is that I will get more in the UK marketplace. While launching another product is not amplified necessarily by the current size of my business, right? So we need to keep this in mind, because it will then help us create our roadmap and create the sequence of the projects we are going to pursue. The next one would be confidence. Is my confidence high, moderate, or low, right? What is my confidence in the estimate? What is my confidence that I can actually get this revenue? Let's say if I launch product variations, my confidence is quite high. I understand my niche, I did this before, so I can say that my confidence is high. The same way goes for expanding from US to UK. I know that UK is quite similar market, so my confidence would be quite high that I can reach this number. On the other hand, I don't have any experience, let's say, with selling on Walmart, so my confidence would be low. I'm really just guessing at this point. But when it goes to, let's say, expanding to the European marketplaces, I know it's still Amazon and I do Amazon pretty well, but the customers are different, so I would say my confidence would be moderate. Again, this is then important to help us evaluate which projects to pursue. And lastly, we will take a look at the time frame. Really just roughly estimate how long will it take to start generating the revenue we estimated right here, right? For example, launching product variations, it will be quite fast, right? We can do that in 1 quarter. Launching new products, going after new product lines, it can take us more than 6 months. And for example, expanding to European marketplaces, we'll have to establish new supply chain and all of that stuff. So we will probably spend 6 to 12 months to get things going, VAT registration and all of that fun stuff. So once we do that, we have a list of 10, 15, maybe 20 opportunities. Now it's time to start prioritizing, right? We have this list right here. And I call this opportunity evaluation, right? This is where we start finding the path of least resistance. What is the easiest way for us to to do these things, to reach our ultimate goal. Because again, remember, you don't have to do everything. So we will choose the ones where we can actually have the highest chance of success with the least effort required. And this is where we start considering our internal structure. In other words, our bottlenecks and constraints. And I always look at 3 categories: skill set, process, and labor. If you are not sure, when we will talk about this prioritization, always prioritize the fundamentals, right? Launching new products, making better listings. That will always have higher confidence. You know how to do these things. You can do these things at scale. So if you are not sure, more, better, new. Now, we will take a closer look at the analysis. So let me hop into the spreadsheet. So now we are in our spreadsheet. We defined our ultimate goal. And if you want the spreadsheet, leave a comment below and I will share a link so you can make a copy. Then we take a look at the opportunity, and I kind of did the work here already. So to save you time. But here we defined all of our opportunities right here, right? This is where we ended with our analysis. And now we will take a look at the evaluation. As I said, we are in this case, looking at our internal constraints. We are looking at potential bottlenecks, right? So when we talk about launching new product variations, I have the skill set. I know how to launch new products. So I know how to do it, right? That would be the definition. Do I have the skill set or not? Do I have the process? Yes, I've done that before. I can do it quite efficiently. So I have the process to do that. I have the suppliers, so it will be easy. And I even have the labor because it doesn't take that much time to do that. I can do that potentially myself. So I can do this. So here we are not constrained. So I would highlight this one green for now because my confidence is high. The time frame is quite short and I don't have any internal constraints right here. If I take a look, for example, at expanding to new marketplace in the UK, I have the skill set because the Amazon marketplace is still the same. I can just replicate what I'm already doing in the US, but I don't really have the process, right? I need to establish a new supply chain, maybe find a new freight forwarder. So I need to do some work to, again, establish this better. And unfortunately, I don't have the time to do that, because I would have to do it myself and I already will be launching these new products, right? So I don't really have the labor. So one of my bottlenecks is labor and the second bottleneck would be the process, right? And I repeat this for all of these opportunities. Now, when we take a look at the actions to remove the bottlenecks, because this will be essential, right? Now we are identifying the roadblocks. We talked about this before. Destination, our actions, and now we are trying to figure out what will be the roadblocks, because we try to foresee what will happen so we can prevent it and scale faster. Now, in terms of the labor, I realized that the labor is a bottleneck for multiple projects. So I could hire a brand manager, right? This person who could help me launch new products, who could help me expand to UK, to Europe. They could potentially help me arrange a new photo shoot. That was one of the projects. And the time frame for hiring this person would be around 2 months. And then what would be the action, here to remove the process bottleneck? Let's say for launching these 8 new products, new product lines, that's a lot of work, a lot of moving pieces. So I would probably have to improve my product development pipeline. That's fixing the process bottleneck. And then in terms of expanding to UK and Europe, I would have to develop an expansion process, how to register for VAT in each country, establish new supply chain and all of that fun stuff. I have to do that. So that would be developing the process. Again, that would take around 2 months. And now we'll take a look at all of this and start choosing the ones that we shouldn't pursue. That will be the projects we want to avoid because the confidence is low, the time frame is too long, we don't have the skill set, we don't have the process. Let's say creating content. It would take us, let's say, a year to even see results. I don't have high confidence because, let's say, I never created content before. I don't have the skill set, I don't have the process, I don't have a content manager, I have nothing, right? So I will go mark this one red, expanding to Walmart. The ones where I'm not sure, it's like 50-50, so I will highlight these in yellow. And the ones that are no-brainer, my confidence is high, time frame is short, I have the skill set, I have the process, and I will highlight these in green. So those are the projects I'm going to pursue. We are looking for the path of least resistance, but we are also considering the projects to remove these bottlenecks. Now, I will jump back into my notes because now it's time to figure out the optimal sequence, right? We have these projects. We want to launch new products, we want to fix our listings, fix our supply chain, expand to a new marketplace. So now we need to figure out the sequence. We are not going to do all at once, while also considering the actions, the projects that will remove our bottlenecks, right? We identify the roadblocks. That would be the labor and the process for some of these projects. So if I take a look at finding the first domino, right? That's what we call this. We want to find the first domino that will make the rest easier. So thinking about the optimal sequence. So in this simple example, hiring the brand manager first will make easier to launch those 10 products I want to launch this year. And then he will also help me to expand to UK. And the expansion to UK is amplified by the scale because all of these 10 products I will launch right here, I can also launch in the UK. Right? So we are thinking about the optimal sequence. And once we do that, we can actually start creating our planning system. But before we do that, we have a little side note. How to actually work on this, how much capacity we have, right? So I call this framework manager versus maker, right? The manager, if I work as a manager, I make decisions, I manage people and systems. This is mostly about maintaining our current operations. When I work as a maker, I create value, I remove bottlenecks, I develop new products, and that's mostly about growing. So let's say my schedule could look like this, 4 hours a day, I work as a maker, 3 hours a day, then the rest as a manager. The reason why I'm saying this is to realize and to stress out how much time do we actually have? Because we talked here about our constraints, the labor. Because a lot of people don't consider this. They assume the perfect conditions. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to do all of this myself. I'm going to be so productive. But when you think in terms of this framework, there is so much time involved in managing your current operations. How much time do you have as the maker? Because the maker is going to move the needle, right? And when you do this exercise, you may realize you have 2 hours a day. Most people we work with realize that they have 2, maybe 3 hours a day. And suddenly, when you think with this limitation, you may rethink your goals and think, actually, you know what? Labor is my bottleneck and I need to bring someone else on board, right? So that's a little side note to help you even understand how much capacity you have to pursue all of these projects. But now with this out of the way, we can finally take a look at the planning system. We have the actions, we have the destination, but it's all about the plan. You need to be able to answer this simple question. What are you going to do today to get closer to your ultimate goal? And for that, we have the planning system. So, planning system begins with the yearly plan. Now we have our ultimate goal. We see where we need to get this year, right? We identified it right around here. What we need to grow by around 560,000 in revenue. So that would be my primary goal. Now, we also chose the strategic projects for this year. We decided to hire the brand manager, implement a product development pipeline, and expand to the UK. And of course, launch those 10 products. Those are our strategic projects for this year. Those are the things that will help us reach the primary goal. Simple. Now, we also want to create a yearly roadmap. This is just a rough roadmap to understand the sequence and roughly the time frame for each project. Right now we are thinking still high level. So we are creating a simple roadmap like this. We will hire brand manager, implement product development pipeline, expand to UK, and start our product development once the brand manager is on board with the fully developed pipeline. This would be the optimal sequence we identified here. We found the first domino. Now, I also want you to plug all of the other restrictions for the year. Maybe you want to disconnect for 3 weeks in October, put it there. You are going on a vacation. Or you have some other limitations. Let's say you want to work less than 25 hours per week, right? Again, put it in there. This is the yearly roadmap. But that's only the high level plan. Now we want to create our quarterly sprints. We are going to take a closer look what needs to happen on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. So we actually figure out the actions, what needs to be done, and make sure that we are making progress. So we will call these quarterly sprints every 90 days. we take the strategic projects that are relevant for that particular quarter, and we identified it right here. Quarter one, we have hiring brand manager and implementing the product development pipeline. Those are strategic projects in that particular quarter. Let's say first quarter. Now, of course, the strategic projects are quite broad. Hire brand manager. What does it mean? So then we define the key initiatives, the actions, the steps, what needs to be done in order to achieve that goal. Hiring a brand manager, having that person on board. So we need to define the job description, create hiring funnel, filter candidates, onboard and train. For creating the product development pipeline, we need to draft the steps, create the pipeline in Asana, our task management, and then write instructions. And of course, here we will also have some other initiatives that they do not fall under any of these strategic projects, right? Let's say you want to update your seasonality curves. The year is over, we are starting new year. So let's say you want your supply manager to update the seasonality curve. And again, we will plan this out similarly, but in this case, the roadmap is week after week, right? We want to map out each week. When do we start each project? What are the different deadlines? Again, to monitor that we are making progress. Now, I also like to add status, to see what's been done, what's potentially behind, what's at risk, and the owner who is accountable for this particular key initiative. So let me hop back into the spreadsheet to show you in more detail. So we designed the yearly roadmap, we can see it right here, what we are trying to do this year. And now if we take a closer look at the quarterly sprint, we see the hiring brand manager and all of that stuff is here. The roadmap is prepared, week by week, all the way till the end of the quarter. And here the status is also important because let's say I created the hiring funnel, I'm accountable for this particular strategic project. Now, let's say it's the end of January and I still haven't filtered the candidates. My hiring funnel is filling up with candidates, but I didn't get a chance to filter them out. The week is coming to an end. I was supposed to do it here. So I could then start onboarding and training and have this person on board by the end of February. Remember, it was the plan here to do that. But now this is at risk because this project is behind. And let's say our supply manager, Bobby here, he's also behind with updating seasonality curves because he was supposed to do it here. It's still not done, right? So I can see that potentially we need to reprioritize or change this. But again, every month or so, we want to make sure that we are really on track. This is, again, high level perspective, understand what are the different key initiatives, when to begin, when to end, what are the deadlines. But this is still helping us manage our workload, but also our team. But of course, having the plan detailed and specific like this is one thing. We also need to make sure that we follow the plan and our team also is on board. So we will introduce this strategy rhythm that will help you understand all of this together, what this planning system is all about. So first of all, we have our yearly strategy workshop, really just spend 1-2 days every year to define the yearly goal, to look at the opportunity analysis, to identify the strategic goals and the optimal sequence of these projects in order to create the yearly roadmap. Then every quarter, every 90 days, we have our quarterly strategy session, roughly 3 hours. We take a look at the strategic projects for that particular quarter, define the key initiatives, those are the steps in order to finish those strategic projects, and create a quarterly roadmap. Similarly, right, week after week, what needs to be done, when, what are the deadlines. Then we have a monthly review. Every month, I want to sit for 1 hour to review progress on these key initiatives. Are we actually doing what needs to be done? Are we making progress? If not, we need to pivot, right? We maybe need to update our priorities. Is what we are doing working, right? If I said that I'm going to launch products, I need to research products. Am I researching? Am I finding the time to research new products? Is everything on track or not? Right? That would be monthly review for reviewing the progress and pivoting. And then weekly check-in. This is just making sure that every single week I review what's happening, check in with my team, track progress on those key initiatives, and also clarify actions for the next week. We had this example with our supply manager. So I would push them, I would remind them, hey, this needs to be done. This was the deadline. Sit down for 15 minutes and do this, right? This would be setting up your weekly to-dos. Because it's important that this planning system needs to run like a clockwork. Every session needs to happen as scheduled, no excuses. Because you wouldn't believe how many people actually skip the weekly check-in. Of course, that's easy to skip. A lot of people skip even the monthly review, like whatever, right? And the saddest thing is that most people even skip the quarterly strategy session, right? They set the goals at the beginning of the year and they revisit them like after 6 months. They see they are way off track and they get sad, and they basically forget about their goal. So it needs to run like a clockwork. So when you implement this system, create these sessions in your calendar for the whole year, from your strategy workshop to your quarterly sessions, monthly reviews, weekly check-in. So I would create this recurring session, quarterly strategy session, at the end of the quarter for the 4 hours, every 12 weeks on Friday, what needs to be done. I would invite my team or anyone who is also accountable for helping me with this, my co-founder or whatever. And that's it. Then you just stick to this and you follow and use these tools. And that's it for this video. I hope you find this content valuable. If so, make sure to like this video and subscribe. And if your focus this year is to build a strong foundation to streamline our operations, systemize it, build processes, and build a team, make sure to check out the link in the description. And if you want to learn how to make your Amazon business run without you, make sure to check out this video, where we dive into detail how to systematically remove yourself from the day-to-day operations. See you next week. Bye.